Have we got, is everyone here?
There's nobody waiting.
Nobody's waiting, great. Okay, great. So do you want to start?
No, you start.
Okay, well, welcome to everybody. Unfortunate that we've got to have this again, but you know, it's a good opportunity to ask questions and, you know, hopefully find out what everybody's been up to. Anne's got a bit of a plan, so do you want to go through the plan?
Yeah, just if, as ever with Zoom, when you're not speaking, if you could keep yourself on mute, that just helps. What we're going to do is we're going to send you off into breakout rooms like we did last time, but it's going to be slightly different this time. So last time we asked you to, when we come back together, to introduce somebody with the name, where they are, and their aims and why they joined the mentoring program. But this time we want to know the name, where they are, and just a little bit about a memorable adventure that they've had, which can be absolutely, it can be anything, it can be any time in the past. Obviously you only get 10 minutes to chat to people, so make sure everybody gets a chance to talk about their adventure. Because we've got quite small numbers, there's us plus 8, so we will end up with just 2 people in one room. We'll send you off into 3 rooms, so one room will just have 2 people in and the other rooms will have 3 people in. We'll give you about 10 minutes to chat and then we'll bring you back. Has anybody got any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's all right.
You're very quiet.
No, I tried it for the first time on my laptop, and it's an old laptop, so I wasn't sure whether it had worked with this modern technology.
No, it's fine. Oh, hold on, we just got somebody else joining. We'll just wait for him to come in before we send you off.
I think Mr. Eggleston will be on his way.
Oh,
he was warning me that he might make an appearance.
Okay,
great.
So he might be late. Well, I can send him into a room if he turns up late.
Okay.
Hello, Neil.
Hi. Sorry. I just tried to call you. I lost the email. It got into my junk or something with the link. So I'm sorry. I've just put something on Facebook as well.
Oh,
that's
okay.
all right. You're here now.
Yeah. So sorry about that. I was just like frantically trying to find it. I found it anyway. So.
Oh, well done. Good.
We're just sending everybody off into breakout rooms.
Right.
We have you been to one of these before, Neil?
Yeah, I did the one the last one. Yeah.
Similar thing, really, except this time when we come back, we want each person to talk about somebody else in their group, tell us their name, where they are, and a little bit about a memorable adventure that person's had.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll send you off into 3 groups now. Here he is. Okay, so we'll just go through in the order that people are on our screen. So Gav, you're first.
So if the other people could mute themselves.
Oh, yeah, hang on, he's just connecting to audio now. Gav, can you hear us? Okay, we'll move on. We'll ask somebody else while Gav's sorting himself out. David Pratt. Got 2 Davids.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm actually describing Gav's adventure and from where he's from. So he's told me that he's from, I hope I can say it right, Heysham, which is near Morecambe. Or as I've been told, Morecambe is called Morricombe. Is that right? Sounds very exotic. His most memorable adventure was that he did a traverse along from the Vice Mass. He didn't tell me where that was actually. I assume that's obviously in the Alps.
Vice Mass is in Sass Bay, it's in the Sass Valley.
In Switzerland.
Oh, right. Yeah. Switzerland, right, okay, yeah. So he did that, so he traversed along there, set off from the Amagella hut.
Yeah.
He would recommend it as a great alpine adventure, great route, great experience, a nice scramble from the hut which takes him along then to Snowy Arret, which isn't very long, but apparently it's quite narrow. And at the end of that, once you get to the summit, on the way down then is that you have to negotiate the glacier. And as you know, glaciers have got crevasses and all sort of interesting things and daunting things that sort of like play tricks with your head. You know, so yeah, so that's as much as I got out of Gav. He came into it a little bit late because I think he was having trouble with his computer.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I think he still is. Oh, here he is.
He's on the other one now.
On the other computer. You're on mute, Gav.
That's all right. Thank you. Thanks, Dave. That was great.
That was great.
Okay,
Thanks.
Jill.
Hello. I was talking with David, and he's from St Ives down in Cornwall. He said he's done a lot of walking over the years since his 20s, and didn't really come up with one definitive memorable adventure. Really likes the Alps because that's easier to get to than Wales and Scotland and stuff. He did, I don't know, the Helbronner to the Aiguille de Midi. He said that was daunting, but it went well. And the other trip that he really liked was the Gran Paradiso with his son.
Great. Thanks, Jill. Tom, you're on mute.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to speak to Lathan. Lathan, by the way, is an old family name. Lathan, if we actually took him off mute and asked him where he's from, I think we'd all be very confused, because he's originally from Sunderland, moved to Cardiff. Yeah, I thought you might say that. Then he moved to Cardiff. So he's sort of a Geordie with a Welsh accent. Although you would, people from Sunderland aren't Geordies, are they?
No, you're not allowed to say that. Or we won't be friends.
I thought no. And then when he was 18, he'd done some walking in the Lake District. And when his first child went to university, his wife said, "Should we move to the Lake District?" And she didn't have to ask him twice. He had the car packed, and they were off. And he now lives in Natland, in Cumbria, and he is involved in the biological sciences, but his passion is being in the outdoors and mountain photography. His adventure, he's read quite a bit about 8,000 meter summits. He's recently finished a book, and that reminded him of going up a mountain, which I forget what the name of it was, Lathan, but it was on the Annapurna circuit, and they got to 21,500 feet before having to turn around through ill health, not Lathan's, someone else. But he's had a very, very memorable, and he'd love to do it again. And that's Lathan.
Thanks, Tom. That was very good.
You were very kind there.
And Lathan, you're next.
I was talking to Gareth Morton, who's based in Leeds. So I thought he was a Yorkshireman, but he said he was brought up and spent a lot of his life in Mid Wales, which is a beautiful area. I spent a lot of time driving through Mid Wales, from South Wales to North Wales, and it is a very lovely part of the world. He described two adventures. A recent adventure, he'd been down to New Zealand, and the highlight was that he was caught in the lockdown in New Zealand, and it was, I think, sometime before he was allowed back home. But the mountain adventure, he recalled, was a walking trip to France, to the Mercantour Mountains, which are part of the Alps. So in the south of the Alps, down towards Nice and the Mediterranean. I haven't been there. I don't know them, but I'm sure they're extremely beautiful. And he described a walk he did there, a multi-day walk. And as they were coming back, they were coming over a series of cols. And as they were coming over the last col before they descended down into the valley in the car, there was an almighty storm. There was torrential rain, there was heavy thunder and lightning. And this lightning was bouncing from peak to peak and from ridge to ridge, all around them. So the noise was deafening, and the whole experience was absolutely terrifying. And I'm sure if I was caught in a thunderstorm like that, I find it quite scary too. So that's Gareth.
Thank you. Thanks, Lathan. Gareth,
Sorry
you're
you
next.
embellished that, but it's very good, Lathan. Thank you.
You're next, Gareth.
Oh, right. Okay. I had Tom. Tom's based in Nantwich. He used to run his own business, then sold it and found he had some spare time in his hands, and now runs a mountain walking business a couple of days a week and spends the rest of the time hanging off rocks, by the sounds of it, which is kind of life I aspire to. He said that thanks to, I'm not plugging you here, Chris, but thanks to the training he's had from Chris, he's quite a safe climber and walker. But as for his mountain biking, that's completely different. And he is now banned by his family from ever setting foot to pedal on a mountain bike, because he used to go out and end up in hospital so many times that it became a standing joke of which A&E is Dad at today, whenever he went out. So that's his kind of adventures. He's broken various bits, too many to mention apart from shoulder and face and yeah, all sorts. So the fact that he's still survived and is reasonably good looking is testament to the NHS, I think.
Thanks, Gareth.
That's great.
I take up sport with climbing with Chris.
Sorry, Tom, we didn't catch that because you were sort of breaking up a bit then.
All I was saying, yeah, so after mountain biking, climbing with Chris is a safe sport compared to where I've come from.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Mark, you're next.
Okay, am I off mute now?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, I'll introduce David. David's from Great Yarmouth, so he's got a long way to go to get to any hills, but he does sort of manage to get out in the peak when he can. He does quite a lot of walking. He's a project engineer by trade. He also helps out with the local school DV group, and he's looking to do an ML to sort of do more helping out with those. David's adventure is one that I really wish I'd been along on. Sounds fantastic. He said that his sister and 5 friends, they decided they were going to go for a walking holiday, staying at Skiddaw House Youth Hostel, just around the back of Skiddaw. Went off in the winter. They were all going to meet up at a pub in Threckhill. I'm guessing probably the Horse and Hounds, somewhere I know quite well. The weather wasn't great, so they were a little bit late leaving there after a couple of beers, and people being a bit held up getting there. So it was about 10 o'clock before they left. Horrendous weather, snow, white out getting there. They arrived at 1 o'clock in the morning, by which time the hostel had phoned the police to say that they were missing, and they weren't too happy about that. All weekend they were there. The weather was 40-mile-an-hour wind, white out. They tried to go out but couldn't. What I forgot to say was they were probably a bit late getting there because they carried, in David's own words, probably a bit too much booze with them. So I think the top and bottom that they spent most of the time sat in front of the fire, drinking beer and having fun. And then when they walked out, they had perfect conditions. So he's very keen to do it again, and I would imagine it's doing it again with the walking, not just the carrying beer a long way and drinking in front of a fire. Sounds good to me, though.
Great, thanks, Mark. David, you're next.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I'm going to tell you a bit about Neil. We ran out of time with Neil, so the story's not quite as long as some of the other info we got on some of the other guys. I guess you were a bit more focused at getting through it quickly, but Neil's from Altrincham, which is just south of Manchester, and he had a career in banking up until around 6 years ago, where he decided he wanted to get out of banking with a banking crisis, and he became a fitness trainer. And he told us about his adventure where he has completed the Bob Graham round, because Neil is also into fell running, a group of people that I think are insane. And the Bob Graham round is 66 miles, 42 peaks in 24 hours, and I can't remember the vertical ascent that was in that. But Neil managed to complete that in 2015, which sounds like a fantastic achievement of physical endurance. So I'm in awe at that physical ability. And that was about it, really. Hopefully that's a good rendition, Neil.
Sounds good.
Great, thanks, Dave. Neil, you're next.
Yeah, so sorry, thanks. Yeah, so David, no, David, hang on a minute, Mark, sorry, the wrong person. Yeah, so Mark, he, the information I got, he gave us lots of information, good information. He's worked in the outdoors for many years. I think he now manages outdoor centres, and so he doesn't get outside as much as he'd like to at the moment. But he lives in southern Scotland at the foot of the Pentland Hills, and he said that one of his best adventures he's been on was about 5 to 6 years ago. Walking in the Highlands, he went. It was 8 nights and 9 days walking from Inverness to Pullew. And he said he went 3 days with not seeing anyone at all during that adventure, which was great for him. And he said that the winds were just strong enough to keep away the midges every single night that he camped. So it was like the ideal kind of walking trip, if you like, from start to finish. And then he got to the end, he said, and then I think his wife had posted him some fresh clothes, because he'd been wearing the same clothes for 9 days straight. And also in there was a bottle of whiskey, some chocolate and some beer. And he said, I think he said he had a shower. He was actually in the shower drinking the whiskey or the beer or something like that. And he said it was a very pleasurable experience after 9 days out in the wilderness. So yeah, there you are. That's Mark.
Thanks, Neil, thanks. And Gav, you're last.
Hiya. I'm going to talk about Jill. She's from Kendal, and a memorable day out was a couple of years ago. She had some friends up from Hastings, and they decided to go and do some classic mountaineering routes, so they ended up on the Napes, and she ascended Napes Needle, and then after Napes Needle they went on to Needle Ridge, which is a great easy-ish mountaineering route with fantastic views down Wasdale. She was quite surprised at how sort of quiet it was for such a well-known climbing venue. She felt totally at ease because she was confident on the rock and moving well, so she could enjoy the whole experience at what is one of the Lakeland's iconic climbing venues. So that was Jill.
Great, thanks, Gav. That's great. Okay, so we'll have a question and answer session now. So if you've got a question for Chris, just the usual Zoom etiquette. Keep yourselves muted when you're not talking, and yeah, that's it. So anybody like to start?
Just to say that I've never had any adventures. It's interesting actually, because what the word adventure means is the definition in the dictionary anyway is something of which the outcome is unsure, and I think it's good to keep in mind, particularly if we're being involved in adventure education, that is to try and keep adventure in adventure education. So I think it's a good thing to have a little bit of unknowns, not a bad thing.
Okay, has anybody got a question?
Okay, I can kick off. Given lockdown and the fact that everybody is stir crazy, what are you expecting to see in the Lake District when the lockdown is lifted?
what am I hoping to see, or what am I thinking I might see?
Both.
I'm hoping that lots of people will be able to come back and be able to enjoy the mountains. It's kind of nice being able to go out just now and have the hills to yourself, but it doesn't feel right, So but all the industry around here relies on tourists, so it's very important that we get tourists back as quickly as we can, as safely as we can. So I suppose my concern is that, like last time, maybe the people that don't respect the place as much as they should may come back, and but I think that's part of our job as outdoor educators, is to help educate people so that they can respect the environment that we're in. So I just think it highlights how important the job that we've got to do is. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, so you want people to come back, but you want them to come back carefully and respectfully. And yeah, I was thinking more from the point of view of for slightly selfish view of for things like finding accommodation and is everything going to be fully booked, and
I think that was a bit of a problem over the summer after the first lockdown finished, because people obviously hadn't been able to come, and then everybody wanted to come, and accommodation, a lot of places weren't able to operate at their full capacity. So yeah, it can be a problem.
And a lot of people are coming up and staying in vans, which is okay, as long as they're respectful, and as long as they don't make a mess. So, and obviously that's a way around it. And there was talk about them having some places a bit like the French air system, where you can go and park and use toilet. There might even be a shower, and you pay, I don't know, 10 quid a night or something, and you can park in your van. And certainly I'd be very much in favour of that. I haven't heard any more about that, but it's certainly a way that I could see that would be a really good result, I think, for giving people somewhere to stay in vans, and actually the council will get a little bit of money instead of having to pay money to pick up the rubbish.
Yeah, I'm a camper van, so I like that approach as well.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I've got a question. Sorry, we doubled up here?
Okay,
when I've been out with you, Chris, and you've been sort of like pointing out all the different flora and fauna, can you recommend a book which is relative to to the area, to the lakes, that I can sort of buy and start studying the flora and fauna? While we're in lockdown, it might be very helpful.
Yeah, we've got a wildflower book that we recommend to when people come on our ML courses. So I can send you a link for that, or I can send you the title for that.
Great.
We've also got a geology one that we recommend to people. I don't know if you're interested in that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is that there's a lot of plant identification apps that people have found very useful, which we could maybe we could put some of the recommendations for that as well. Tom.
David, just one sort of thing to help is there's it's that one, which is It's the Nature of Snowdonia by Mike Rain. And Mike Rain, he used to be one of the senior instructors at Placid Brennan. He's recently left and gone solo. And they just brought out the second edition, and it's absolutely brilliant. It does flowers, it does animals. Okay, it says no Snowdonia. There is another version, I think, Nature of the Brecon Beacons, which is a sort of byproduct of this. But as a point of reference, I find it's the stuff you see more often than not. It hasn't got the really rare stuff, but it'll most probably capture 80%, and it's also, got all, just tips and just practical stuff. And Mike always calls it the value added stuff. So as an ML, you don't just say it's, it's bilberry. You can say, oh, it's bilberry, and the juice was used for World War II pilots so they could see in the night.
Yeah.
It has a lot of
adds to the story.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Okay,
but it's great. It's really good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Anything like that is helpful. So that's Michael Rave.
Mike Rain. Yeah, and he signs everything. So if you actually get an unsigned copy, that's worth more than a signed copy.
All right. Okay. Right. That's great. Anything like that, any information is great.
I can give the link to Anne if you want, and because he has a website.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll put these things. I'll put them on the mentoring Facebook group, because a lot of people will find this useful as well. Yeah. Gareth, is your copy signed?
No. I don't know whether to be happy or not happy about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've got an unsigned copy as well, so Outcast is worth more than I paid for it now. But mine's a first edition, and it's quite a good book. There is quite a bit of overlap, I think, between Snowdonia and the Lake District. So it came to mind when the question was asked. So, yeah, I can recommend that one as well.
Yeah, there is massive overlap. I mean, they're very similar to Range. The little bit of local stuff that's a bit different, but no, there is a huge overlap. Yeah, that's great.
I also recommend Hostile Habitats, which is a book that I'm reading at the moment, which is similar, looks at Scotland, and is about 2 to 3 times as thick as Mike Rain's book. Give me a few more weeks, and I will be able to give you more feedback. I'm just on the second chapter at the moment.
Okay, I think all this information that's going to come my way should see me for the next couple of months.
Okay.
See you through lockdown anyway.
Any other questions?
One thing, I've just had to order a new coat, which is the Arc'teryx, one of their jackets. But after studying all the information about, what's the fors and against, I don't know if anybody's come across it, but there was a bit of information about what do you call them, like fake Arc'teryx coats. Has anybody ever come across that?
No.
No. Okay. What the information I saw was how to identify it was that the main zip, the full zip, that was a little bit iffy. The stitching was a little bit iffy on the inside, where you can sort of like hang the coat up, the little tag, instead of that being built in the separate from the name tag inside the jacket. That was that was sort of stitched on, and there was a lot of single stitching in the fake jackets. So I thought that might be interesting for people to. So it's maybe a bit paranoid now. I'm waiting for my jacket to come through in the next couple of days, so I'll be going over it like with a magnifying glass. Yeah. So I just wondered if anybody had come across that.
No.
Could anyone recommend a bivvy bag?
A bivvy bag.
Yeah.
I have what sort of a Gore-Tex bivvy bag for regular use, or an emergency carry bivvy bag?
No, more to have a really nice evening in it, not just for emergency use, but a nice evening.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a Gore-Tex one with a sort of a bit of plastic in it, so that when you zip it all up, you can still see the sky, which is quite nice. I'd have to have a look at it to remind myself of what I know. It's mountain equipment, but I can't remember what model it's called. But certainly that's been good. I had another one before that had a little hoop on it, and that was good. The thing that whilst bivvies are great in that you can sleep. You can stay overnight. Let's put it that way. So pretty much anywhere, sitting up on a ledge or wherever, and you can use that. Tents have got so light now and are so much more comfortable than a bivvy bag that that I've sort of I don't bivvy out much or as much as it used to, because it used to be much lighter to take a bivy bag than it was a tent. Whereas my lightweight tent weighs about the same, if not slightly lighter than my bivy bag. You know, a bivy bag weighs around about 800 grams to 1,000 grams, you know, a proper Gore-Tex bag. So, you know, and you can get a full 2-skin tent for, you know, 800, you know, or less actually, grams. So does that answer your question, Jill?
Yeah, is a really light tent going to be really, really expensive as well?
Some of them, so yes, to give it a short answer, yes, they tend to be quite expensive. But because the lightest ones are moving towards kind of 600 grams, it's actually relatively inexpensive to get one for about a kilo now. You know, so there's a laser, and there's 2 versions of it. There's one made by Terra Nova, and the other one's Wild Country. And I forget, one's a cheap and cheerful version of the other. But they're both very good, and they're both, one's, you know, one's a lot cheaper than the other. You know, so you know, they're definitely worth looking at. They're good value. You know, and so that'd be a single pole tent, but a tent that you could sit up and you get changed and you could cook your tea in. Whereas in a bivy bag, it's you know, where if you're cooking, you're in the open. You know, so yeah, there you go. Is that helpful, Jill?
Yeah, thank you.
I liked your day as well. That's one of my favourite days.
Sorry? Oh, day.
Yes, your day.
Yes,
You
yes.
described. And the other thing that I've sometimes done is gone down and, you know, come back down and done Toffet Wall afterwards.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, I was tired enough.
Yeah, and Toffet Wall's a little bit bolder as well. And
right, okay.
Yeah.
Bear that in mind.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic route. Yeah, and a really good day. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
I was just going to say to Jill, if you're after a lightweight tent, Terra Nova usually have a sale on permanently. I managed to pick up a laser photon a few years ago for under 200 quid. So it's worth having a look. They've nearly always got a sale on. Sometimes you'll pick up a real bargain.
Okay, thank you.
Is that an in-store sale or an online sale?
I've only ever looked online, but they sell a lot of stuff off, and if you hit on well, you can get some real bargains. It's worth a look.
Yeah,
I've had a go in a Terra Nova laser, and I had a go in a Terra Nova Voyager 2. The Voyager 2 has got a bit more space, a bit more weight, and that's a lot more comfortable, I found.
Yeah, good. I was just going to say that actually, that the Voyager is an excellent tent, and they do a lightweight Voyager as well, which again, it comes in just over a kilo. So it's, you know, like, and they've got a load more space. So that's another option as well. Yeah, the Voyager is very good. Yeah.
I can back that up and like say that the Terra Nova Voyagers, I've had that for many years, and it's been in some good conditions. And like you say, it's got you know, there's a nice bit of space in there, and I think it does weigh roughly about a kilo, just over.
Yeah.
I think new, you're looking around about, give or take, £400 mark, 350, 450. Depends where you go. Not sure.
Good. Anybody else got any more questions?
The only thing I had,
Since I
Chris,
did my
well,
ML with you, Chris.
Sorry, Gav or Tom?
Gav, keep going.
Yeah.
Go on, Gav.
Since I did my ML with you, Chris, I've been looking on the freelance outdoor instructor websites and that, and a lot of them, when they're asking for an ML, they're asking for 2 years 2 years experience, you know, 2 years worth of work as an ML. So I mean, obviously, if you've just qualified, where you're meant to get that 2 years experience from?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Gav. It's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? And it's a problem that young people have, particularly starting out in just about any industry, isn't it? They say you've got to have experience.
Yeah.
So, I suppose the thing to do is to go and offer to volunteer for organisations like the Scouts or maybe local DV school groups, things like that, so that you can get some experience. And then once you get yourself known, that's the key, isn't it? It's but it's a bit of a catch-22,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can't give you a definitive answer, but I think
No, man. I was just wondering, because obviously for people like you said, for younger people who are looking to try and make a career out of it, and that it's obviously difficult, isn't it?
It is. It's a catch-22. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, what did you have as a question?
I suppose it was really just a question for the group, in the fact, we're all grounded. And some people have hills on the doorsteps, though some don't. But it was really a question as to what people are doing to keep themselves sane, I suppose. I've actually with my sort of mountain head on, I'm planning my trips for the summer because that's keeping me focused. But I've also I was thinking more about people sort of sharing anything that they're doing maybe online, because I've done it's not applicable to an awful lot of people. It's called the Snowdonia Ambassador Scheme, run by the Snowdonia National Park, which you get you get a medal for at the end of it, or a certificate, which I've just completed that. But also I'm looking at websites on learning birdsong, and I can't find any good birdsong websites. So rather than being an LBJ or an LBB, I wanted to try and put a little bit more knowledge to it. But that's only me, and I appreciate everyone might be doing something slightly different, and that they're doing in the evening for maybe half an hour, or once at the weekend. So it's just maybe a sharing of ideas in the group. Maybe something for the next session, I don't know.
Anybody want to come back there?
I can say a few things on that. I think certainly I've got a full-time job, so actually I've got very little spare time for anything particularly. Hostile Habitats is my current read to kind of keep my brain vaguely mountain orientated. I am trying to think about what happens post-lockdown and where can I go, because I'm desperate to get some hill time. And that's about it, apart from trogging around my local manor, and as Chris will know and Gav will know, with my litter picker, picking litter. That's about it. That's all I can do. Managed to do quite well up until lockdown happened. Sneaked out for a couple of walks in the Dales, as far as I felt I could go and push that particular envelope. The snow's been good fun up here anyway. But yeah, it's quite hard.
Yeah, your litter picking thing. I was thinking about you. I went up Helvellyn, was that yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, and I managed quite a big haul of litter. And I was thinking, I actually thought when I got down, because I was like, that's quite a lot of rubbish. It was about, I think I got 4 cans, 4 plastic bottles, and quite a few other wrappers. And I think it's partly because it being snowy, people have dropped stuff in the snow, maybe on purpose or by accident, I don't know. But anyway, when it thawed out, it was all there, so I picked quite a lot up on that day. And I was thinking we could have competitions. We could have litter picking competitions and see who comes back with the most rubbish, and we could have a picture of the biggest litter haul for the day.
Well, I will post a few pictures of some of my recent walks,
right,
with some suitable litter picking pictures. Not most of mine are like, here's a litter picker, a bag of rubbish, and a bin.
Yeah.
There's a group I'm on Facebook, Wild Campers Against Waste, and it's a very nice little group, a bunch of people who go out in in summer in their vans and litter pick wherever they happen to be camped up.
Great.
At the moment, they're doing kind of lots of walks like I am around my local patch.
No, that's great, isn't it? You know, and I think if we can encourage people, I think something that I read, and Tom mentioned it there, and I know we've been talking about trips for the summer, and that certainly helps me as well, is that even the planning of a holiday or the planning of a trip is nearly as good for you mentally as actually doing it. You know, so I do recommend, you know, and there's been quite a lot of research done on that, and so it is good to be thinking ahead and be thinking about trips, and Tom and I have been talking about things that I'm excited about. And I'm like, oh great, you know, I might not be able to do much just now. I mean, I am fortunate that I can get out into the local hills, but you know, work-wise, I've not been able to do much. And I had a full season planned, and then all of a sudden, nothing. You know, it's like, oh, right, okay, well, here we go again. And I think a lot of people have found that difficult, and certainly I did, and have done. I still am. You know, it's like I like being busy. I like my job, and you know, and it's great sharing adventures with all you folks and other people. You know, so yeah. Anyway, there we go. Has anybody got anything else?
I'd just like to say something. Tom, I think that's a really good idea to have that as a focus for the next Zoom meeting. I think it would be quite useful for people to share about, you know, what are they doing to be staying sane. I think that's a great idea.
I'm slightly torn because living in Kendal, which hills are local? How far can I go? And
yeah,
so I haven't gone anywhere much recently, and I was looking at, you know, sticking to the lower ones, and the other Borrowdale Valley, I was looking at doing a walk there on Friday.
The guidelines are a bit confusing, I think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
because it says you should exercise within your town, village, or the part of the city that you live in, but actually, then there's nothing. What came out? There's this case in Derbyshire where 2 women got fined, and the police are now going to undo that. But what came out of that was, in the legislation, it doesn't have any limit on how far you can travel.
Yeah.
So the two things are a bit contradictory, and I think, you know, people are then just making their own decisions. So yeah, you have to make your own decisions based on the guidelines and on what you think is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and my take on it, Jill, is that I think basically if you ended up in the same sort of hospital wherever you were, I think that's a sort of good rule of thumb, you know. So for us in Cumbria, it wouldn't make any difference where, you know, so if you go to the South Lakes, you'll be in the same health area, you're in that same hospital. We're not putting any additional strain on the Cumbrian health system by you travelling there. And also, if you look at it from it's a risk assessment thing, isn't it? You kind of go, well, what's the risk of you filling your car up in Kendal, driving out to, you know, to Langdale, going for a walk and having a nice day out and then going back home? Well, there's no additional COVID risk to anybody, you know. So, you know, so that's my take on it anyway. And certainly, you know, Kendal's local to the South Lakes, isn't it? You know, if you kind of go, well, that is local, isn't it? They're your local hills, you know, or the Howg Hills, or, you know, they're all local hills. So anyway, that would be my take on that.
Yeah, because when I lived in South Wales, it was a lot easier because you had to exercise from your front door.
Yeah.
So you couldn't drive to exercise, and that then sort of defined it a lot more. But I've struggled with it because I've been so tempted to dash up to Langdale or whatever, especially when we had all the snow. But in the end, I didn't, because I thought, well, that's not the spirit of it. So I thought the spirit of it was to probably to stay in Kendal, and I had to walk up the Helm. But it's not the same, and I can perhaps as time goes on, I'll be tempted to go into the Lake District properly. But So it is hard to know what to do.
Yeah, it's tricky.
That is tricky, yeah.
Well, we're just about on 8:30 there. So unless anybody's got a 1 minute question and answer. Yeah, David?
I've got a really quick one. One of the ways I've been finding to stay sane is socialising through quizzes. And I'd quite like to get together with my climbing friends, my walking friends. I wondered if anybody had any good PowerPoint quizzes that they'd be willing to share that I could do with my friends. No. Okay, I'll write one and I'll share it with you lot.
We actually did a quiz one time on one of these Zoom meetings, and a different person set each round. It was kind of just like a mountain-based quiz, but we could do another one of those.
Yeah, I'm after something relatively simple to share with people that aren't as into it technically as I am.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, over New Year we did a sort of a quiz. We all had to think around. So having just moved to the Lake District, I brought a round based on questions of the Lake District. And the answer to the first question was a delicacy from Cumbria, normally 21 inches long. It was Cumberland sausage. And then the rest of my questions was that height of various mountains, the depth of certain lakes, were all based on the number of Cumberland sausages. And that went down quite well. I might put that on Zoom then as well.
How many Cumberland sausages in Helvellyn? Great.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, great. Thanks for joining us this evening. It's been great to see you, and obviously we'll let you know when the next one's going to be.
Okay, yeah. Any questions in the meantime, just put them on the mentor group, and you know, we'll be looking at that, and we can be answering that. And you know, and just like Tom mentioned, ideas to keep people sane is good. You know, that when you can't get to the hills, you know, pop them on there as well. That'd be great. And if there's anything we can help you with in your planning in the future, let us know.
Bye all.
Lovely.
Thanks,
Great to see you.
See you all.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Everyone, nice to see you.
See you, Gareth.